Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Draw Step, and I know what you're thinking right now. Whoa, am I seeing double? And the answer is no. What you're seeing is Adrix and Nev, the Twin Masters, or Twincasters, rather. They're not mastering twins, they're mastering castering things. That still sounded wrong. Here's a question. Have you ever wanted doubling season in your command zone? Because if you have, that's what these boys do, or girls, or non-gender fish people thing. It says for 4 mana, you get a 2/2 with Ward 2, and if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. This is an incredibly powerful deck. It actually was a precon commander originally from the Strixhaven set, which used to be the set that, or was the set that I first got into playing Magic the Gathering. So it has a special place in my heart. And my friend and editor of these videos created an incredibly powerful, overpowered deck that you can get like turn 2, turn 3 wins. I've seen him build an army of over 3,000 tokens out of nowhere. So this deck is very, very strong. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I am going to show you a tweak that you can make to this deck to make it go infinite, which I think is pretty dang cool. All right, let's get into it. First and foremost, we have our basic lands. Nothing too crazy. You're in Simic. I mean, there's plenty of non-basic lands that you can get, and he has most of his mana base as non-basic lands. If you want to see the exact ones that he is running, there is going to be a deck list in the description below. Make sure you check that out. So that is our land base. From there, we have a few things to help us ramp. We have Incubation Druid for 2 mana. It says tap, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control would produce. If Incubation Druid has a 1/1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type. And then for 5 mana, you can adapt 3. You can put 3 1/1 counters on it. There's other ways to get 1/1 counters on your creatures. There's plenty of ways around that, but being able to tap for 3 mana is very nice on a creature body. We then have Rampant Growth for 2 mana. Search your library for basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. There's plenty of ones you can do like Cultivate or things like that. He only has the one Rampant Growth. Cool, fine, it works. Arcane Signet for 2 mana, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And of course, a Soul Ring, because every deck should have a Soul Ring. So that's his ramp. It's a little weak, in my opinion, for a green deck, but hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. From there, we have our destruction pieces, or ways of dealing with our opponent's plans. First, we have Terrastodon. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it, for 8 mana. It's a 9/9, and when it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 3 target permanents, 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3 elephant creature token. Now, you can use that as destruction on an opponent's things, or if you have some token that you're wanting to get rid of, you can then destroy it with your commander in play. You're then getting 2 3/3. So really, if you're targeting your own stuff, when you cast this 9/9, you could potentially get an army of 6 3/3s along with a 9/9. So that's pretty great value, whichever way you want to use that. Oversimplify for 5 mana. It says exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, puts a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number or to the total power of creatures they control that are exiled this way. You are almost always going to benefit more from that because you will have such a massive board from all of the token creatures that you're going to have out. So you'll be able to create a massive creature. Your opponents, they do get that that creature was going to be a lot smaller. Creeping Mold, 4 mana, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. That's a little gross, but nice to have that flexibility. Beast Within, 3 mana, classic card, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Bramble Crush, 4 mana, destroy target non-creature permanent. It's nice that it specifies, not nice, but if you're wanting to lean into the whole land destruction thing, it says non-creature permanent, not non-land permanent, which is unique. Crozen Grip for 3 mana, and it does have split second, so it can't be countered. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Rapid Hybridization, 1 blue, destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated, and that creature's controller gets a 3/3 green frog lizard creature. So with any of those, we're saying destroy but get a token in its place. If you target your own stuff with your commander out, you're getting 2 of those. So that's not a bad trade-off right there. You could destroy one of your own creature tokens and get 2 creature tokens in its place. Trigon Predator, 3 mana, 1 green and a blue. I've talked about this in other videos before, other videos that are Simic decks. Trigon Predator, it's a 2/3 of flying, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. I feel like that is incredible value, especially if you have an opponent who's either running an artifact deck or doesn't have any flying to defend themselves. You can be an absolute menace to that person. You can destroy pretty much anything, any artifact or enchantment that they ever try to lay. Soul Ring, out of here. They try laying like a doubling season or something, done with that. They will not be able to build anything up because you have a repeated way of taking it out over and over and over again on that flying body. Arashi, the Sky Asunder, 5 mana for a 5/5, and you can pay X and a green to tap it, and it deals X damage to target creature with flying. That's nice. Again, we don't have a ton of our own flying creatures. Trigon Predator is one of the few in this deck, so this is a nice way to protect yourself if an opponent does have like a dragon army or something like that. It also has Channel, X and a green. Discard Arashi. It deals X damage to each creature with flying. So again, take out your opponent's dragon army in a pinch. Perplexing Test. 5 mana for this, and you get to choose one. Either return all creature tokens to their owner's hands or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. This gives you some flexibility, but in most situations, you're probably just going to choose to return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. Most of your opponents probably won't have as large of a token army. My background's falling down. Probably won't have as large of a token army as you do. So this could clear out your opponents and allow you to then swing in, attack, and take somebody out because they have nothing to defend with, and you have this massive token army. Speaking of building a massive token army, we have Shark Typhoon for 6 mana. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So really, again, with your commander or some of the other cards out, you're getting at least 2 of those shark creature tokens with flying. So that will actually build you up a nice flying board over time. From there, we have Primal Vigor for 5 mana. If 1 or more tokens would be created, twice that many tokens are created instead. Again, this is just doing more of what your commander is doing. But with your commander in play, this is getting exponentially larger over time. And it also says if 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. Parallel Lives, 4 mana. If an effect would put 1 or more tokens onto the battlefield under your control, it puts twice that many tokens onto the battlefield instead. So that would work, again, very well with your commander, because your commander is putting twice, and now you're putting twice of that onto the battlefield. It does just work with the tokens, though. And then last but not least, we have the classic, the OG for 5 mana, doubling season. If an effect will create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. That's literally just your commander, but now you have it doing twice as many. And if an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many counters on that permanent instead. Love it. So if you have your commander in one or two of these in play, every time you're creating a token, you're now creating 4, 5, 6 times that many of those tokens. Speaking of then creating the tokens, we have a couple instants and sorceries, a couple different ways of making multiple tokens. Theoretical duplication for 3 mana. Whenever a non-token creature enters battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature. It can be fun to use this as a response. You see an opponent laying like an Eldrazi or something big and scary, you can lay this or just do it at the start of their turn when you know they're about to start popping off. Rite of Replication, 4 mana. Create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell was kicked, create 5 of those instead. So kind of pricey, but you can create an absurd army out of nowhere. And again, all of these, creating these tokens, just know you're getting twice as many of those tokens instead. Replication Technique, 5 mana, and it does have Demonstrate. When you cast a spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control. So you can get 2 copies of something because of your commander, but you can choose to get another 2 copies of that because of your commander and the Demonstrate if you allow an opponent to do it as well too, which most times it's worth doing it because you're getting so much more value than your opponent would be getting out of that. Spitting Image for 6 mana. It says create a token that's a copy of target creature, so it's a little bit more pricey, but it also has Retrace. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs, so that's fun to be able to get it 2 times. Azuri's Predation, 9 mana on this, but it says for each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Each of those beasts fights a different one of those creatures. Now, mind you, again, with your commander in play, you are now creating twice as many of those 4/4s. So a lot of times this reads really as a board wipe. With those 4/4s, that'll probably take out most of your opponent's creatures. Maybe some of those beasts that you created will die as well, but there's a backup for every single one of them. So you're going to take out most of your opponent's board while also having a massive board state left behind for you. Second Harvest, 4 mana, similar. For each token you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that permanent. Later in the game, when you have this massive board that you've created of all of these tokens, well, now you get another of them, and really 2 others of them because of your commander. 1 Dozen Eyes for 6 mana. You can either put a 5/5 green beast creature token into play or put 5 1/1 green insects into play, or for an additional 3 mana, you can do both. A lot of times, you'll probably just go with the green insects because now you have 10 1/1s. That's kind of scary. Sylvan Offspring, X and a green from the Lord of the Rings. You can choose an opponent. You and that player each create a XX green tree folk creature token. So again, we're totally fine with allowing our opponent to create that XX creature because you are getting 2 of those XX creatures. And then you choose an opponent. You and that player each create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. It's nice that you get to choose 2 different opponents, or you could choose the same opponent. You get the ability to kind of politic there, create some friends. Now, you're probably just creating enemies because you're making twice as many of them. Irencius Vile Duplication for 4 mana. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except that token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. So you could choose to create a token copy of your commander. Since it's not legendary, it will stay on the battlefield and allow you to just keep duplicating even more. Cackling Counterpart for only 3 mana. It says put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature you control. That's a strong effect, and it has flashback for 7 mana. You can do it again. Now, we have a couple different pieces here to help with the overall synergy of our deck and keep our deck going, such as Ruxa Patient Professor for 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. But more importantly, creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1. And then you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they weren't blocked. So that's going to work well with the amount of things that are just creating like 3/3 beasts, or all of our tokens. Most of our tokens, that token army that we're building, they're not going to have any abilities. So this is an anthem for them to make them even stronger. Garruk Primal Hunter, 2/3 green for a planeswalker that can +1 create a 3/3 green beast, -3 draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then -6 create a 6/6 green worm creature token for each land you control. You'll probably have a ton of lands, especially by the time that this thing comes out, and then you'll be creating 2 6/6 green worm creature tokens for each land. You're making a massive army. That's going to be a pretty intimidating threat when your opponents see it. Master Biomancer for 4 mana. It's a 2/4, and each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power, and as a mutant in addition to its other types. We don't really care about the mutant part, but the fact that your creatures are entering stronger because of this, and if we have a way to make Master Biomancer stronger, that's going to be very nice. So Master Biomancer is going to be very strong in helping to boost our army. Next, I have Jace Cunning Castaway. 3 mana for a planeswalker, +1. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. So kind of a rummaging effect, but allow you to go through and find the cards you need to win. -2, create a 2/2 blue illusion creature token with when this creature becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. And then -5, create 2 tokens that are copies of Jace Cunning Castaway, except they're not legendary, which is really 4 copies of him because of your commander. So you can make quite a few different copies of this boy and get even more value out of that. Sharpshooter Elf for 3 mana. It has reach, and its power is equal to the number of creatures you control. So this can become a massive threat on the board. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying an opponent control. So it could take out, if an opponent has a dragon or an angel or something, some scary flying threat on the battlefield, it'll be able to take them out. Next, we have the 6th Doctor for 6 mana, which is very appeasing that they made it like that. Whenever you cast a historic spell, copy it. Except the copy isn't legendary, this ability triggers only once each turn. So getting, again, even more copies of things. This is a funny one that I just, in our last live stream, had to deal with over and over again. Launch for 2 mana. It's an enchantment. Enchanted creature gains flying. When launched, put into a graveyard from play, return it to its owner's hand. In our last live stream, if you missed it, my opponent kept launching his creature over my head. I really didn't have any flying, and anytime I did find a way to take it out or take out that creature, it would go back to his hand, and then he would relaunch something at me. So that was quite frustrating. I've seen how strong that can be. And also, make sure you check out our live streams every Saturday. They're a good time. Guardian Augmenter for 3 mana. It's a 2/2 with flash, and commander creatures you control get +2/+2, and commanders you control have hexproof. Your commander already has ward 2, but hexproof is even better, so love that. Stormtide Leviathan for 8 mana. It's an 8/8 with Island Walk, and all lands are islands in addition to their other types. Island Walk says this creature is unblockable as long as defending player controls an island. So that means it's an unblockable 8/8. And then creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So this is going to shut down pretty much all of your opponents because they're probably not going to have Island Walk. Ren and 7 for 5 mana. It's another Planeswalker. Enters with 5 loyalty counters, and it says +1, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all land cards revealed this way into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. And then 0, put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So this is a nice way to ramp there. -3, create a green tree folk creature token with reach. And this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. -8, return all permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. That's a great effect. There is so much value jam-packed into this, and you're going to be able to get even more out of it, again, with your commander's ability. Nice little guide. There's a little blocker in case of emergency. 3 mana for a 1/1 with flash, flying, and death touch. Another 3 mana. It's a defender, a 1/3 with flying, but it says prevent all damage that would be dealt to guard Gamoza. So if your opponent does attack you with some dangerous flying creature, you can just block it, bounce off, nothing ever even happened. We have yet another Planeswalker in this deck. For 5 mana, you're getting Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim. Enters with 4 loyalty counters. Whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim, so he'll be able to get to his ultimate quite a bit faster than normal. 0, draw a card, so basically that's just +1. And then -2, create a 2/2 blue spirit creature token with vigilance. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So you're getting 2 of those 2/2s, and as you get more card draw, they're going to get even larger, as well as your Planeswalker will too. And then -12, target opponent chooses a permanent they control and returns it to their hand. Then they shuffle each non-land permanent they control into their owner's library. So this is basically a board wipe on them. Next, for 3 mana, you have Champion of Wits, kind of a classic. When it enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards, and then you can eternalize it. It's a 4/4, so you're getting to draw 4 cards. Mana Gorger Hydra, 3 mana. This boy is going to get massive over time. It has trample, and whenever a player casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra. So that would be a great one to try to make copies of, because over time it's going to get huge, and it has that trample, so it'll be able to swing through on your opponents. All right. Now this last group of cards, these are going to be things that are really leaning into our commander's ability, creating tokens as they go. Progenitor Mimic, 6 mana for a 0/0, but it says you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this creature isn't a token, put a token onto the battlefield as a copy of this creature. So this will be making... so it enters as something. It can be one of your creatures, or really any creature on the battlefield, so it doesn't even have to be yours, and it'll be producing even more copies of it over time. Next, for 6 mana, we have Spawning Kraken. It is a 6/6, and whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, or Octopus, or Serpent you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token. So if an opponent accidentally allows this to connect, you're getting 2 9/9s, and anytime they connect, like, you're creating exponentially more and more. Your opponents are going to have to deal with this, and deal with it quickly. Avenger of Zendikar, for 7 mana. It's a 5/5, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control, so creating twice as many of those. And it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature you control. So they start out small, but they are going to get big real quick. Imperious Perfect, 3 mana for a 2/2. It says other elves you control get +1/+1. And you can pay 1, tap it, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. One of the nastiest and most frustrating cards to deal with. For 7 mana, the Hornet Queen. You're getting a 2/2 with flying and death touch, and when the Hornet Queen enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch. That's really 8 1/1s because of your commander. That's a massive flying death touchy army. That's a pain in the butt to deal with. Prosperous Innkeeper, 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Get 2 treasure tokens, really. And then whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So you'll be creating so many creature tokens. You're going to gain a lot of life over time with your little Innkeeper there. Speaking of being a pain in the butt to deal with, we have Reef Worm for 4 mana. When Reef Worm dies, create a 3/3 blue fish creature token, which says, when this creature dies, create a 6/6 blue whale creature token, which says, when this creature dies, create a 9/9 blue kraken creature token. So again, each time you're building 2 of these. So not only is this a pain in the butt because it's making exponentially larger creatures every time it gets dealt with, but it's creating twice as many. So it is going quite wide and creating a massive army, a massive problem for your opponents to deal with. And every time they do deal with it, it just gets stronger. Idol of Oblivion for 2 mana. You can tap it, draw a card, activate only if you've created a token this turn, and then you can also pay 8, sacrifice it, and create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. You'll be creating tokens on most of your turns, so you'll be able to have that card draw, but then also creating 2 10/10s when you want to. Phyrexian Processor, 4 mana. As it enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life. I've seen him pay 10, 20, ridiculous amounts of life, because then you can pay for tap and put an XX black minion creature token onto the battlefield, where X is a life paid to Phyrexian Processor when it entered the battlefield. So you can be getting, 2 10/10s every turn with that thing. Hydra Broodmaster for 6 mana. It enters, it's a 7/7, but it also has Monstrosity X. When it becomes monstrous, create XXX green Hydra creature tokens. So this thing is a massive creature on its own, but then it can create a massive army of more massive creatures once you do go monstrous with it. Myojin of Cryptic Dreams, a little expensive, 8 mana, but it's a 3/3 that enters with an indestructible counter on it. And then you can remove that indestructible counter from it and copy target permanent spell you control 3 times. So you're creating 3 tokens of something, which your commander's going to see, and double all of those. Ridiculous. Wormcoil Engine, 6 mana for a 6/6 with Death Touch and Lifelink. And then when it dies, you get to create a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Lifelink. So this is almost more powerful dead than it is alive, because as soon as it dies, you're getting 2 3/3s with Death Touch and 2 3/3s with Lifelink. That's absurd value. Elvish Hydromancer for 3 mana, but you can also kick it for another 4. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Nice value there. Kazunda Tusk Caller, 2 mana, and it has a level up. So levels 2 through 5, you get to tap it to create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. But as soon as you get to level 6, you can tap it and create 2 3/3 green elephant creature tokens, which is just going to be multiplied again by your commander. Rampaging Bolas, classic, 6 mana for a 6/6 with trample. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get a 4/4 green beast. Nakatl Warpride, 6 mana. This has got old text, so it's a little complicated, but when it attacks, it must be blocked by only 1 creature, and when it attacks, you put X tokens into play, tapped and attacking their copies of it, where X a number of creatures defending player controls. Remove the tokens from the end of the game, or at the end of turn. So you are creating something for each creature your opponent controls, and those creatures must be blocked by exactly 1 creature. So now all of your opponent's blockers are taken accounted for. But you're also getting another group that's tapped and attacking for each of those. So you are creating an unstoppable army that can go through and wipe out an opponent. So that is a very strong creature there. Can throw it up here, but with after only 3 or 4 times of this being on your commander, you have an insanely massive army just off of your commander and helm of the host alone. So that is how he has the deck built. But the final card that I want you to stick around to see how you could make this go infinite. The final card in the deck is Summoning Station. For 7 mana, it says tap, put a 2/2 colorless pincher creature token into play, and whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from play, you may untap Summoning Station. So this is all well and good in and of itself. I'm sure he threw it in the deck because you can tap it and get 2 colorless creature tokens. But this pairs so well with a Phyrexian Altar. You can get infinite mana with this. So if you have this and a Phyrexian Altar in play, which allows you to sacrifice a creature, ignore that. Hold on. So upon further review, I understand now that I'm a big old dummy. I thought this said that it was creating artifact creature tokens. So the theory was that you would be able to sacrifice an artifact creature token to the Phyrexian Altar, get the mana, and then it going to the graveyard would untap this. There are other artifact creature tokens that we are creating in this deck, so you should be able to sacrifice them and untap it. So it does not go infinite, but if I were him, I would still include a Phyrexian Altar in this deck because of the amount of tokens that you are creating. So turns out I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. I'll own that. But a Phyrexian Altar would still be an incredible include in this deck. You are creating massive amounts of tokens and then being able to sacrifice those off to the Phyrexian Altar to get the mana to do other things. That is going to be very powerful. So if you did stick around to the end of this video to see me kind of work through in real time that whole conundrum, more power to you. Leave a like and comment in the comments below you're a big old dummy, because I am a big old dummy, and I'll own that. Also, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell notification if you enjoy deck builds like that. If you want to support the channel, we have stickers available that you can buy. There's going to be a link in the description below, and we're going to have more cool merch coming soon. So make sure you ring the bell notification. You don't want to miss out on any of our uploads. Every Friday, we have brand new videos coming for you, and every Saturday, we're doing live streams. You're not going to want to miss it. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time.